This is the Rome Total War online battle that I, Cluny the Scourge, fought in a 2 vs 2 match as ally to Prince of Macedon against our opponents Selifator and Freddy commanding the Huns. As the Eastern Romans, the Prince and I have achieved what Emperor Palpatine, Sith Lord though he was, could not. We have united Rebel and Imperial. I, the Rebel, Prince, the Imperial. We have between us 8 units of Eastern archers who have long range and will surpass anything that the Huns can throw against us. 11 units of Legio Lanciarii, that's legionaries armed with spears, suitable for resisting cavalry. 1 first cohort legionary and 1 orthodox priest unit who will supply morale boosting. 2 Hippotoxetai horse archers, 4 Scalae Palatinae heavy cavalry, and 6 Equites auxilia light cavalry hidden in the trees. Our enemies have a great many horse archers, 11 horde horsemen, that's light horse archers, and 1 Hunnic archer unit, and as the battle begins, they send them forward to commence a missile duel with us. And here we see that Selifator, setting his horse archers on Cantabrian Circle, are much harder to hit and taking far fewer casualties than Freddy's horse archers, who are suffering almost immediately and are in fact going to be wiped out presently, in the face of massed archery. The Huns also have between them 13 units of Lancers light cavalry, and Selifator uses his to catch my Hippotoxetai horse archers, which I allow to stray too far to the left, hoping to distract and occupy the attention of the enemy cavalry. In my first blunder of the match, I fail to account for the fact that fast-moving light cavalry will catch horse archers and they are destroyed. I now respond to Selifator's movements to outflank us by refusing the flank of our army, with mine attached to Prince's as though by a hinge. In fact, the Hunnic horsemen are going to circle even further around to the rear, and I will have to refuse my force back further still. Freddy took 2 heavy spearmen, which he used to defend his horse archers against possible cavalry attack, but as you can see that wasn't necessary. We wiped them out with missile fire alone. The Huns took very little infantry in total, 5 units of swordsmen, heavy infantry, and 2 heavy spearmen. Now Selifator swung his cavalry all the way to the rear of our army, while Freddy kept his forces right before a Prince of Macedon's, fixing them in place and holding our attention. In this way the Huns used their mobility to take the initiative and force us to fight reactively while they were proactive, and all the time seeking to lure us into making mistakes that they could exploit, and boy do we make some mistakes. The final component of the Huns army I haven't mentioned yet is 5 horde chosen warriors, that's heavy cavalry, which gives them a formidable striking component of their horse at 17 units, 13 light, 5 heavy. Here you see Selifator brings his cavalry right into our rear and then rushes them back immediately. His plan is clearly to try to lure our horse, my Scalae Palatinae there, and Prince's light cavalry in the woods, out so that he can envelop and destroy them. Now I'm responding there by moving my army to fight back to back to the Prince's to protect our archers. A point I think where we could have done better is if we had reacted to seeing the opening enemy army setup by forming a variant on the noob square formation right from the start. At this point we Romans make our major blunder, which is that we decide to use our cavalry against the Huns in our rear, which is exactly what they wanted us to do. Prince crashes home, and my forces rush to support him, but unfortunately his light cavalry is no match for so many enemy horse, especially including heavy cavalry, and his troops rout before mine even arrive. Now I fail to detach some of mine to the left and to the right to try to avoid envelopment, and so that's exactly what Selifator achieves, and he destroys my cavalry in turn. Now some of those horse units of ours are going to regroup, but they'll be frail and badly damaged, and they won't be of much use to us. Now I make a further mistake by sending in some spearmen to try to support my horse. Now that's a good idea generally, but they're too far away, considerably too far away from my battle line, and consequently they don't arrive in time, and now those spearmen are vulnerable to being struck in the rear as I try to rush them back to our main force. Without a functioning cavalry component, we're going to have to fight completely reactively here from now on. The Huns move some forces into the woods there to complete an encirclement of us. Here are those regrouped cavalry I mentioned. Always remember though that once a unit has routed and regrouped, it's much more brittle and more easily broken in future, so you can demand less of it. At this point our enemies make a blunder of their own. They've achieved an early success, and flushed with victory they become overeager and decide to launch an all-out attack before using their horse archers on Cantabrian Circle to soften us up. Freddy sends in his infantry, which we're about to see the results of over on the far side. They broke in the face of Prince's massed javelins and massed spearmen almost immediately, while the enemy horse strikes at us from the rear and the flanks. Prince and I naturally both react with our spearmen, and the Lanciarii are going to have the better of it against heavy and light horse, unless the enemy mass superior numbers so as to achieve a concerned by number of enemy effect that would rout each unit in turn. However, they don't. They divide their cavalry to go after our archers at the same time, trying to do everything at once. And incidentally, we're also supported in our morale by the legionary standard and by our priests chanting, who the enemy ignore. So in this way the Huns managed to strip off those regrouped horsemen, as you see here, and inflict some heavy casualties on us, especially against our archers, but the kill ratio is very firmly in our favour. At the end of this engagement the enemy will have only 2 badly damaged units of light lancers, and the Selifator portion of their horse archers, while Freddy's infantry will have regrouped also. They will have lost all of their heavy cavalry and 11 of their 13 units of lancers, completely destroyed in the face of those spears. Certainly there is no risk of the Roman armies starving tonight. There'll be plenty of horse steaks available, because the Huns have fed unit after unit into those spears, making themselves into shish kebabs. And so now the second phase of the battle commences. The Prince and I form up the remnants of our armies into a coherent battle line. We have a few slightly foxed units of Lanciarii, a couple of units of archers, pretty badly damaged, but they still have some ammunition left. We have the priests, and we have the first cohort Comitatensi. We have no cavalry remaining. The enemy have their regrouped infantry, which we don't think will pose any threat to us. They should rout more or less as soon as they attack. They still have plenty of light horse archers, as you saw just a moment ago, and also 2 units of badly damaged and regrouped Lancer light cavalry. Now at this moment we're under heavy missile fire from Cantabrian circling horse archers. Perhaps it might have been better for us to take our troops into the woods. That would have given us protection from missile fire and also put those cavalry at a combat penalty when they eventually charge us, which they'll have to do once they're out of ammunition. However, it didn't even occur to me. As you can see, a couple of our units were wiped out to the last man there by all those missiles, like that. Poor bastard. At this point, once a unit of archers ran out of ammunition, I sent it out in front to occupy the attention of the horse archers, hoping they would use up and waste missiles on them, not realizing that we were out of ammo, which they did. You can see that they have their swords out there, but the enemy didn't take a closer look to check. Look at this guy. How's that for valor? He died trying to hold up his unit standard to the last. Remarkable. That man deserves a medal. Posthumous, of course. So, they finally make the attack once they're out of ammunition. The infantry is crushed by Prince's spearmen and my first cohort there. And the light horse archers, which are completely inappropriate for melee attack, but which the enemy have no choice but to use now, run straight into heavy spearmen, supported by Orthodox priests and the first cohort legionary standard in their morale, counteracting the superior numbers that they bring to bear against each unit locally. The enemy lost this battle for 2 reasons. Firstly, they didn't take enough infantry to engage our foot troops before striking at us with their cavalry, and secondly, They became carried away after their initial success in destroying our horsemen, and didn't wait until their horse archers had whittled us down before striking to finish us. The legionary eagle flies high.